It's time for Around the Ozarks News, brought to you by the Springfield Greene County Park Board, Kitchen Land USA, and Thompson Sales. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sarah Forhetz.
Hey, everybody. Good morning to you on Tuesday after another stormy night in the Ozarks. Watch out for flash flooding this morning because a lot of rain came down in some spots. And obviously, we've got a few more days of this, so check in with Abby Dyer's Wake Up Weather immediately following this. But we're going to start with some of the cleanup.
Yeah, cleanup in St. Louis continues following what is an EF3 tornado that struck there on Friday. That rating means the wind speeds were between 136 and 165 miles per hour. It caused a lot of buildings to collapse, ripped off a lot of roofs. 5 people lost their lives in the city of St. Louis. Police are now working 12-hour shifts to keep people safe and prevent looting there. They are also imposing a curfew that's now in effect from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day till it's all cleaned up. The price tag, by the way, in St. Louis, they are estimating at $1.6 billion worth of damage.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable. $1.6 billion.
Well, and you see some of the videos that are coming out now. I don't know if you've seen them, but there's a video shot from an apartment building, maybe six, 7 stories, and it's shooting across from the same floor on an apartment building, shooting across, and there's a glass. It's a glass wall of an apartment, not theirs, but the roof lifts up, the glass blows in. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
the stuff that happened to strong, seemingly strong existing buildings, and a lot of the buildings were older buildings that were brick and came down. But
but a lot of the older buildings, I've learned from doing so many stories in my life, is that they're actually way better built, like stronger than new construction in a lot of cases.
Well, and yeah, that can be true.
So, man. Wild. Speaking of tornadoes and then storms, last night, if you are in a tornado warning during non-school hours, so school is out now for a lot of people, or about to be out at the end of this week. And if you were in the Springfield School District or elsewhere, just make sure that you are calling and checking on the school building closest to you, because there are now a lot of them that have the storm safe rooms that are open to the public. The shelters typically open right when the storm warning goes into effect, or the tornado warning goes into effect. And then the doors close shortly thereafter, about 10 minutes or so after, to keep everyone inside safe. So it does have to be a building that you can get to quickly. Yeah,
that's always the thing that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, is that people have to travel to get, I guess if they're in a structure that's not at all safe, that it's worth traveling to get to another structure that is safe. But
for sure. And those storm rooms, I mean, yeah, you have to move quickly. But if you do live close to one, it's way better than being in any house, because, I mean, those storm rooms are built for this.
Well, yeah, they're FEMA approved. But
right.
Again, the problem is the travel. You don't know exactly where the tornado is.
They typically say within a half-mile radius, but I can remember specifically doing the story right after Joplin hit. And I was like, so you're like checking people's address, because they almost made it sound like they were. And then finally they're like, well, I mean, no. Like if someone's beating on the door of the safe room, they're going to be let in,
Well, Ozark had that problem a couple of years ago where I
remember that too. Yeah.
People couldn't get in. They went there and couldn't get in. So I don't know.
That's why I say you should call. I mean, you do it's on you and me to be able to like make the phone call, make sure that we are, doing our due diligence before the emergency.
Okay. Services are today for former U.S. Senator and Missouri Governor Kit Bond. The Highway Patrol will lead a procession from St. Louis to the Missouri State Capitol building. A memorial service will then be held there in the Capitol Rotunda at noon. The former governor and senator will lie in state for 24 hours before an escort and procession back to St. Louis on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, a celebration of life will be held at Ladue Chapel Presbyterian Church. Both services in Jefferson City and in St. Louis are open to the public. There is some good news to share for students who attend a community college, then transfer to a 4-year school. The Missouri legislature passed a bill that makes it easier to transfer credits for some core curriculum classes. The result of that is that students won't have to pay to retake a class at a 4-year university when they've already taken that class at a community college. They're making those credits transfer, which makes complete sense.
And is awesome. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine how much money you're going to save.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, right? Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like that will cover like Missouri schools, but I mean, that's a Missouri legislature. Like a lot of schools, especially if you're medical or engineering, they want you to retake those classes at their university because, again, they are signing off on your degree, saying that you've been well trained. So it does, depending on some of the upper level, or not upper level, but like more niche, I suppose, careers, you might still have to fight that, Mm-hmm. Anyway, if it's not in Missouri. Okay. We knew that it was a possibility, and apparently it is going to happen. Missouri lawmakers going to have a special session in Jeff City next month for all sports in the state, at least big sports. The question to debate is whether to provide tax breaks to keep the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals in the Show Me State, or else they could move over the border to Kansas. Kansas, as you know, has tried to sweeten the pot to get them to move over there. Governor Kehoe talked about a plan that would use tax revenue generated by each team, the Chiefs and the Royals, to finance the bonds for the new stadiums, for the stadiums that they want to build. So the Chiefs would use the money to upgrade Arrowhead, and then the Royals would use it for a new stadium in Missouri. So we will keep you posted on that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the whole legislative session go by without it really being brought up until the very, very end, and then there wasn't enough time to do anything.
Well, we knew that this was going to happen.
It's a pretty big deal. The legislative or the special session?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it became evident that it needed to happen.
Right. Yeah. Okay, now to this. Missouri police will be recognizing fallen officers on Thursday. This week on Thursday, the service is from 10:30 to 11:30 at Life 360 Church. That is in Chesterfield Village in Springfield, kind of right off Kansas Expressway. It is an event that will recognize 165 officers who were killed in the line of duty just over the past year. Four of them are from our state. So 165 total, 4 of them in Missouri, and they will be all recognized. The event includes tributes to local, state, and federal peace officers who, of course, risk their lives daily to keep us safe. Governor Mike Kehoe is the featured speaker. The public is invited to attend, and it is a free event.
God bless them for the work they do. And 'tis the season for graduations. College graduates are on the job hunt as well, because real life starts pretty quick after that graduation. I remember those days. The Federal Reserve says nearly 6% of recent graduates are still without a job, unemployed. Career experts say it's taking about 3 to 6 months for them to get hired right now, straight out of college. That's 6% rate is about 2% higher than the national unemployment rate. A recruiting firm survey says 71% of Gen Z respondents reported securing an interview is one of the biggest challenges they're facing, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. It's it's an exciting time and a stressful time. And yeah, I feel like the college graduates in my world, they have all secured jobs and it's exciting. But yeah, I can remember the stress of that.
Do you think it's more stressful to graduate from college and start a full-time career where, you're responsible for yourself, making your own money? Is that a bigger stressor than getting married?
Yes.
I think so too.
For sure.
Yeah.
That goes without question, babe. You were marrying up. Hello. How hard can it be?
That's right. I forgot about that.
You just had to get it. I mean, about a wedding, you're excited and it feels more known because you know the person. You know what I mean? But I mean, I moved from my college town, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Go Pokes. Whoop, whoop. I moved there. I graduated like on a Tuesday and I started work on a Wednesday. And it was crazy. It was nuts.
Well,
But
that's poor planning.
they were like, we need you. When do you graduate? What time? I'm like 10 a.m. They're like, great. So you can start the next day. So I loaded all my stuff in a truck, drove
That's totally new TV news, man.
It's totally, yeah.
And they're gonna have this onboarding time for you to learn the system and meet everybody the first day, and it never fails. The first day you're out on a story.
Oh, I was live the first day, live on television, and it was awful. It was so terrible. Okay, let me tell you my story. And if my mom or dad are watching this podcast, I just need you to know that they're great. They really are. But there's one thing that they didn't teach me. Actually, there's a lot they didn't teach me. Ethan would attest to that. Like how to cook, for instance. But that's not what I'm talking about. So when I moved out of my college housing into my very first real life apartment, like in a small little town right outside of Dallas, first on air TV job, I did not know, this sounds so stupid now, but it's a true story. I did not know that you had to call the utility company to turn on your utilities, because in Stillwater, Oklahoma, America, at OSU, like it is included in your price of rent. So like when you get your agreement, like your lease for your apartment, it includes utilities. So I didn't know that you had to do that. So then I not only am on television that day, but I didn't have a blow dryer, a hair straightener. I looked a disaster. An absolute disaster. It was like wet ponytail, up in a ponytail. At least I had makeup on. I mean, I was a lot cuter back then, so I had that going for me. But it was awful. And so I'm like calling my parents, and I'm probably my dad, honestly. That feels like more like a dad move. And I'm like, Dad, my utilities don't work. He's like, He's like, well, did you call the utility company? I'm like, no. Why would I call the utility company? He's like, to hook up your power, you moron. He didn't say that part.
Probably. You had a working phone, I guess?
Yeah, I had a cell phone. I got a cell phone my freshman year of college.
Okay.
Yep. So I called, and then they couldn't get out right away. Like it was like a few days before they could come and hook it up.
You got to schedule it.
Yeah, I had to schedule it. It was terrible. I had no utilities in my tiny apartment, so tiny that it didn't even have a door. Like there was not a single door. Even the toilet was not behind a door. Oh, man.
Yeah, they're good stories. But to teach our kids how to live their lives properly.
Well, it teaches the kids that they need to make a phone call. That's the moral of the story, college graduate. If you're watching around the Ozarks, which surely you are, you need to know that when you go get your first apartment and it's like totally sketchy, because mine surely was, it was all I could afford. You just need to know that if you did not call the utility company and give them like a week heads up, you're not going to have hot water or utilities. You cannot straighten your hair. You're going to look a mess. You're welcome.
That's good. Include that in your graduation speeches.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will. You know what? I think I did. I spoke at a graduation a couple weeks ago. I think I worked that in there because I'll never forget it. Also, if marrying you for me was not stressful at all. That's a true story. I'm not trying to kiss up. I'm not trying to brown nose. I was just excited to be along for the ride.
So then if marriage is not more stressful than getting your first job and starting a career, is having your first child?
Yeah, that was stressful for me because I didn't think I was selfish. I remember thinking I'm not selfish. And then I had a baby. I was like, I'm really selfish. As it turns out, I really want to do my own thing when I want to do it. And I'm flipping tired all the time.
Yeah, I would think that having a kid, the first child is a lot more stressful.
Yeah.
Because you got so many things to think about. You're suddenly responsible for another human's life.
Yeah. For sure, I didn't do those baby breathing monitors. There are people who like buy these breathing monitors. Did you know this nowadays? Because I get invited to baby showers sometimes. I'm like, what is this? So I looked at it. And it's like this breathing monitor. And I'm like, if I had that, I would have never slept a wink. I don't think I would have been stressed out all night long, just staring at the monitor. You know what I mean? I didn't do that.
To make sure
that was
they're
kind of
breathing?
before our time. I don't think we had those.
No.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Certainly don't buy the baby wipes warmer. It's not real life. You know?
Okay. We're full of tips today.
Teach that baby when they're young.
It's like Tuesday morning tips with Sarah.
Mainly call the utility company. It's really like, I always feel like the jury's still out until your kids are like 25 and they love Jesus. I don't really care about your parenting advice. You know what I mean? So ours aren't there yet. We got a while. We got another decade before we get to weigh in.
What flies by is what they say.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
See you then.
It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Command Family Medicine and Taylor Grubaugh Chevrolet. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday. It is May 20th, and things are finally a little more tranquil in the Ozarks after all that rain and thunderstorm activity that we had late yesterday afternoon into the evening hours and even into the overnight hours for some of you in our eastern counties. It's much more calm, but with some localized issues with flooding. Last night, some of those storms had rainfall rates between 2 and 3 inches per hour. So you might notice that there are some flood-prone areas that are a little bit full this morning. Just make sure you're paying attention to that on the morning drive. Temperatures, well, they're going to be cooler today. A cold front associated with that same line of thunderstorms that came through for us yesterday. That's what I'm watching push through the Ozarks today. Heavy rainfall last night leading to flooding concerns in a few spots, but temperatures are mild this morning. Numbers are starting out in the middle 60s, and the real axis of heavy rain and severe weather has now shifted well to our east. There is a chance that there could be a couple of little storms fire up with the actual front that comes through later today. But I think for the most part, we're just going to be talking about conditions that are cooler and drier as we head into the middle of the week. Numbers are going to come down significantly, and we won't quite have the upper 80s that we had around the last couple of days. And that muggy air mass, you can almost feel the moisture in the air yesterday. We've cut some of that out of the forecast too with this cold front on deck for today. I do expect that cold front will exit the area later this afternoon. There's a small chance that we see a couple of little storms develop along that line, and the eastern counties could see some thunderstorm activity. But really, I think the threat for severe weather is well to the east of the Ozarks today, east of Highway 63. Conditions will only warm up into the middle 70s. It is going to be a noticeably cooler day in the forecast, and we can get used to those cooler numbers. I have cooler and drier weather hitting as we head through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. In fact, there may be a couple of days here that we only see highs in the 60s. So cool conditions definitely still possible. Long sleeves, light jackets going to be warranted as we head into the second half of the work week. And then as I look ahead at the weekend to come, the holiday weekend, unfortunately, it looks like we could be set up in kind of a cooler pattern with some rain chances to arrive in the Ozarks. There's still time for this to change, so don't panic just yet for the Memorial holiday weekend, but an early look. Looks like we could have several rounds of showers and thunderstorms around and an east breeze. Typically, that type of setup would keep the cloud cover in. It would keep the cooler temperatures in place. And it means that we would be in a bit of a holding pattern through much of the holiday weekend. Today, I'm looking at high temperatures in the mid 70s. It'll be quite nice once that cold front comes through. We'll notice the cool down definitely back into the 40s for lows tonight. So chilly as you head out the door on Wednesday morning. Wednesday looks like a Chamber of Commerce day in the Ozarks. We'll have low relative humidity, temperatures in the middle 70s, plenty of sunshine to enjoy. And then we'll have cooler air that still settles into the region as we head into Thursday. High temperatures on Thursday may not even make it to 70, looking at a high temperature of 68 by Thursday afternoon. So noticeably cooler in this forecast, as I mentioned. Around the country, well, our activity from yesterday, the chance for severe weather, the tornadic activity shifting east, and that's going to bring with it the threat for some heavy rain and flash flooding that's also possible in the forecast. Critical fire weather is also possible for much of the southwestern United States. So our friends in New Mexico, West Texas, they are looking at incredibly dry conditions. Also, some of the extreme heat that I've been advertising for the last couple of days for our friends to the south. So it is leading to high fire danger for much of the southwestern United States. All right, it's time for the Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather Brain Twister trivia question for the day. And the trivia question, here it is. Before Friday's storms last week, when was the last time the St. Louis area had fatalities from a tornado? Do you think that was A, in 1940, B, 1959, C, 2020, or D, 2024? Well, it was a long time ago, but I'm sure some folks still remember this. 1959. If you guessed B, that is the correct answer. That was the last tornadic storm with fatalities for the St. Louis metro area. An old record, and that's the way we like to keep it with these tornadic storms. Unfortunately, we did have fatalities with the storms that came through just last week on Friday. We're thinking about all the folks still cleaning up and still out of power in the St. Louis area. All right, here's the quiz question that I'll leave you with for tomorrow. What is the name of the highest mountain in the world? Do you think it is A, Mount Everest, B, K2, C, Mauna Kea, or D, Kilimanjaro? You can let me know your guess. No Googling, that would take all the fun out of it. But you can let me know your guess at aroundtheozarks.com. Thank you so much for listening. I expect much more quiet weather in the forecast today, which is a nice change for us. Thanks so much to our sponsors, Command Family Medicine and Taylor Grubaugh Chevrolet. We'll chat again first thing tomorrow.